This afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to do one thing first. I want to thank you for coming because you care. And that is what it takes to turn this around. Voters who actually care. And the second person I'd like to thank is Ms. Shipman. She'll understand why, so I don't need to go into any details on that. So without further ado, let me tell you why I'm here. I am not going to start out by singing the praises of Obama, of course you'd expect that, or the Democratic Party, of course you'd expect that, or the Republican Party, that you wouldn't expect. And I'll explain why as I move forward. We have a lot of things wrong in this country. I've heard a lot of talk about Obamacare and what it's going to do to jobs. Well, here's a reality check. Jobs have already been being lost before Obamacare even comes into effect. We need to be talking about that. Obamacare is just part of the same problem. Let us look at gun control. There's another one of these issues. Gun control is not about stopping violence amongst criminals, especially in the black neighborhoods. Blacks have been killing each other with high-capacity automatic weapons for the last 25 years. Nobody talked about gun control then. Gun control is an attack on those who own guns legally so that they can be identified, that it can be limited as to what they can purchase. Why? So that they can't meet force with force. Our Second Amendment rights are purely about our ability to protect ourselves against those that would hurt us, including a tyrannical government. I live in South DeKalb County. You can't hardly find a school where the graduation rate is above 50%, let alone anything that is above 20% for those that are prepared for college. They've already screwed up the federal government, the public school system. Now they want to do more damage with Common Core. Who homeschools in here? Raise your hands. They're coming after you. More government intrusion. We talk about other things like limited government, no new taxes. How many of you knew about the carrot and stick legislation, the 6.5% sales tax that Georgia passed on anybody selling a private motor vehicle to another private citizen? Yep. Raise your hands if you knew about that. Well, it wasn't on the ballot like T-Splosh. Why? Because they didn't want us to vote it down, because we would have said no. Why is this? Yet we're supposed to believe certain things. I'm not going to do a stump speech to try and get you to applaud, and I'm going to bypass a lot of those things. Why? As conservatives, not Republicans, as conservatives, we expect limited government. As conservatives, we expect that the government is not intrusive into our private lives. As conservatives, we expect that we should have better choices when it comes to how we educate our children. But those things we don't have. So those are the expectations of a conservative, but they are being overlooked by those that we elect and send to supposedly represent us, yet they tell us they want to go and lead us. I don't know about you, but I don't need another leader. I'm looking for a representative that will stand for we the people. The room has not changed. There's only one guy that I know of that we held accountable for what he has done. That was George Bush Sr. He said, read my lips, no new taxes. And when he violated that, he was held accountable and summarily lost against Bill Clinton. This is what we have to do to those that we keep sending back to the room, because all they're doing is becoming like the room. They are not changing it. If they have said that they would change it but have done nothing of substance to bring that about, stop sending them. That is your empowerment, your ability to choose. We need to look for representatives, not leaders. We also need to understand that unless we start to stand up and say no, until we start to hold our elected officials accountable, Nothing will ever change, no matter how much rhetoric that you may hear as those that come to the podium after me or before me. It will stay the same unless we, the people, stop it.
Our next speaker is Karen Handel. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. My name is Karen Handel, and I'm running to be your next United States Senator. Ladies and gentlemen, results matter. We need a United States Senator who is going to understand that she is accountable to you and not to the insiders of Washington, D.C. We need a United States Senator who is going to do more than just vote no or shrug the shoulders over the fact that we don't have a majority. We need a fighter, we need a doer, we need a person of action, and that's what I bring to the table. As the CEO of the North Fulton Chamber of Commerce, we were about ready to close the doors, but I stood up and I led that organization from the very brink of bankruptcy. When I came in as Fulton County Commission Chairman, I didn't have a majority. There were 4 Democrats who could do anything they wanted. We had a $100 million budget deficit. A 3 mil tax increase was on the table. But I went to work and I was able to move that commission to a place that they didn't want to go to. We balanced that budget each and every year without a tax increase. As your first elected Republican Secretary of State, I again went to work. I made sure that Georgia had photo ID. I stood up to the Justice Department and the Obama administration to make sure that we did verify the citizenship of our voters so that only U.S. citizens were going to vote in Georgia's elections. Now, we have a lot of challenges and we need to get our economy going. And the way to do that is to deal with a real meaningful plan to cut spending, a meaningful plan to deal with the deficit. We need to scrap the IRS and rewrite our tax code, repeal the 16th Amendment, get moving on the fair tax now. I'm going to be a real champion for fair tax, not just putting my name as a co-signer. And we need to reduce the onerous and duplicative regulatory system in this country, and we need to start first and foremost with repealing and defunding Obamacare. That's why I stand with Senator Cruz and Senator Lee. We draw the line in the sand now. The surest way to have more of the same, ladies and gentlemen, is to keep electing more of the same Washington insiders. We need a new perspective, fresh leadership to go to Washington. Again, someone who's going to understand that she is accountable to you. Now, we're all frustrated. We're all frustrated. But this is the great United States of America. We've faced many challenges before, and we will rise to the occasion with this challenge because that's what Americans do. Look at the previous generations. They faced things far worse than what we have. And yet they put their livelihood and their lives on the very line to make sure that we had great opportunities. Only in America could I be standing before you asking for your vote to be the next United States Senator. I left home when I was 17, finished high school, went to work. I believed in the principles of hard work, accountability, responsibility for my own actions. Only in America could that have happened. That's what is at stake. Ladies and gentlemen, we will rise to the occasion, but I ask you this: what will be our legacy for future generations? Is it going to be out of control spending? Is it going to be a $17 trillion debt eroding freedoms? I will not resign myself to an America of mediocrity. We must not resign ourselves to mediocrity. I ask for your vote, but know this: I'm going to work very hard to earn it so that together we will do the things that we must to ensure that the great United States of America remains the greatest land of opportunity and the greatest land of the free. Thank you, and God bless you. David's next, so we'll let him.
Thank you. My name is David Perdue. I want to be your next United States Senator. And the reason is that we have a full-blown crisis in our hands right now. I'm concerned about my kids and my grandkids. They're the first generation in the history of America that will not have the same prospects that I and my generation had. And it's not because of some great power outside the United States. I grew up a part of the atomic generation. Remember that? The atomic bomb warning, you got under the desk. We watched the Soviet Union collapse. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the same thing can happen here. There is absolutely no guarantee that that same thing can't happen in the United States of America. Where we're in right now is unprecedented. We have $17 trillion of federal debt. Unconscionable. But that's not the worst of it. We actually have 65, the economists disagree on how to even estimate this, but it could be $65, $70 trillion of future liability, including Social Security, Medicare, and so forth. The characterization I like to use about that is if you take the average household right now, they would have a credit card debt of over $1 million. That's the characterization that you have of this federal debt. Now, how do we get here? Well, if you look at the danger that we have in this federal debt, 4 retired secretaries of defense, I had dinner with them about a month ago. Unanimously, they said the number one danger, the number one threat to our national security is our federal debt. And how do we get here? Well, there's no secret about that. The approval rating in Congress right now is 10%. And yet we re-elect our incumbent politicians 92% of the time. Do you realize that in the United States Senate today we have fewer than 10 people who have any real business experience? 10 people. 36 people in the United States Senate have been in elected office for more than 30 years. No wonder we've got a problem. No wonder we've got this financial crisis. I grew up in Warner Robins, Georgia. My mother was a teacher. My father was a teacher. I married a teacher. We met in first grade. We've been married 40 years. We have 2 boys, 2 grandsons, and I'm really concerned about their future. I worked hard through school. I worked my way through Georgia Tech, got an engineering degree. I got a master's degree later. Worked with some of the best brands and companies in America, Sara Lee, Pillowtex, Hager, Reebok, Dollar General. At Dollar General, we focused on our customer. We help people get from payday to payday. We put our stores in locations where they belong. At Reebok, we turned around a company from bankruptcy, added billions of dollars in asset value. At Dollar General, we added 2,600 stores where they were needed. We helped people get from payday to payday. We understood what it meant to be a working wage family, to be a single parent. You know, those women that came into our stores in those little coin boxes, they knew they had a problem in literacy. Today, 1 out of every 3 kids in America do not get out of high school. 2 out of every 3 African-American males who go into 9th grade don't get out of high school. Those women knew they had a problem. In those nickel and dime coin boxes, the first year we did that, they generated $12 million for literacy. Ladies and gentlemen, people know we have a problem, and yet we keep putting the same people in charge. I'm telling you, we have a full-blown crisis right now, and if we don't face up to it, we could go the way of the USSR. There's no question about it that we've got to fix this tax code. We've got to get going with our health care reform, and I got to tell you, the way out of this box is to get our corporations, small and large, exporting. There's no question in the world is waiting for us to do that right now. They need us to do this. I'm David Perdue. I want to be the next United States Senator from Georgia. I need your help. Check us out on Perdue.com. You're going to see a lot of suggestions over the next 9 months about how to dig out of this, how to grow our exports. You know, we only have 1 port in the country that exports more than imports, Savannah, Georgia. And we've got an opportunity to dig out of this mess. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Phil Gingrey.
Layla, thank you. Floyd County, thank you. Mr. Tillman, thank you for the great event. My normal speech includes who I am, what I believe in, and why I want to serve as the next United States Senator. It's great to be in Northwest Georgia where today I don't have to tell you who I am. The media asked me just a little while ago, is it an advantage that I keep coming back and that you know me and that I continue to serve you even though you're no longer in my district? And I said, of course it's an advantage. But it's an advantage all over this state that people know that I will serve them with the same heart, with the same dedication, with the same intensity as every county that I have represented as a member of Congress over these past 11 years. In regard to what I believe in limited government, I believe in local control, I believe in low taxes, I believe in a constitutional amendment to balance the budget because Congress will not do it without a constitutional amendment and one that has teeth. Look, we don't need a senator that is sort of conservative, is even mostly conservative. We need somebody that will stand strong, rock solid on principles, Georgia values, the importance of faith and family, the sanctity of life from the moment of conception. We need a senator who honors the Constitution and the framers that knew what they were talking about. We need a United States senator that understands that the Constitution doesn't adjust to the times adjust to the Constitution. And yes, we need some strong vertebra in the spine of the United States Senate. And in fact, we need a net of more than 6 so that we can once and for all get rid of Harry Reid and save this country from this Democratic majority. During this so-called August recess, I'm traveling this entire state of Georgia, north, south, east, and west. And as I ask people what's the most important thing on their mind, it's jobs, jobs, and yes, jobs. It's the debt and the deficit. And finally, it's Obamacare, that abomination. And my fellow Republicans, these issues are all joined tightly at the hip, are they not? There is no question that they are joined tightly at the hip. Obamacare probably is the worst piece of legislation that's ever been enacted in the history of the Congress. And it is killing this country. It is killing the economy, and it's killing jobs. Now, when I go back to Washington in September, we only have 9 legislative days left. And we are going to have to vote on what's called a continuing resolution to fund this government for the next fiscal year. If we don't get that done by the end of September, then the government is not funded. I want to pledge to you here today, my friends, that I will not vote for any appropriation bill, nor any CR, no matter what the length of that continuing resolution, that has 1 nickel, not 1 nickel of funding in it for Obamacare. And I have signed the pledge. I have taken the pledge. And let's make one thing perfectly clear. We Republicans are not voting to shut down the government. We will take that vote in the House of Representatives, and we will pass it on to Harry Reid. And then it is up to him and President Obama to make the decision. If they want to shut the government down over that, then that ball is in their court. We will fund every other aspect of the federal government at Republican levels. We will keep spending low, but it's not us. And anybody here, anybody that's a Republican elected official at any level, let's, as Rose Wing said, let's stay strong. Let's pull together. Let's hold together. Because if we don't hang together, we hang separately. And that's the kind of senator that I'll promise you I will be. I am not interested in forming any gang with anybody that is going to vote for amnesty for illegal immigrants. I am willing to stand for a gang of 1, and if it's necessary, to put a hold on bad legislation and bad appointees. Vote Phil Gingrich for the United States Senate. God bless you, and God bless Georgia. Thank you very much.
All right, next up, Jack Kingston.
Thank you very much, Layla. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. It's great to be with y'all today. First of all, I want to introduce my wife of 33 years. Libby is here. I don't see her at the moment. And my son Jim is here too. We have 4 kids, 2 girls, 2 boys, but Jim's here representing the youth of the Kingston household. I don't know where he is at the moment. He's usually at the food table at this time. I believe that there's 2 issues which you and I, as conservatives, as Republicans, have to own. 1 is national security. 2 is jobs. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. Let me start with national security because I have had the honor of representing 5 military installations. Right now, as you and I enjoy our freedom today, we have soldiers, sailors, and airmen in 175 different countries. In 30 countries, we have over 100 troops. I believe that when we send them there, they need to be the best equipped and the best trained and have the fastest missiles, or most accurate missiles, the fastest airplanes, and the strongest tanks. And I want them to go up against any army, anytime, any place, and win because, like Ronald Reagan, I believe in peace through strength. I also believe that if you touch an American citizen, we need to let the world know we will come after them. And when we're through with them, we're coming after you. And if the UN has something to say about it, they can talk to us when we get back. And if we have an opportunity to buy oil from Canada, then we need to immediately build the Keystone Pipeline and not talk about it. I'm tired of funding both sides in the war on terrorism, and when we don't develop our own oil and energy resources, that is in fact what we do. And let me say this also, as a member of the Defense Appropriations Committee, I want the money spent on the bad guys. I don't want the United States government spying on me and keeping track of my phone call to Libby when I come home from work asking her if I should pick up some bread from the Piggly Wiggly. Now let me talk about jobs. Let me talk about jobs. We need to get rid of the nanny state, cradle to grave regulations that are killing entrepreneurs' ability to create new jobs. Whether it's Obamacare, and how many of you are in small business or have talked to a friend about, okay, who's going to be part-time, who's going to be full-time, and how many people are we going to lay off? Obamacare has failed to do what it promised to do, which was decrease the cost of health care and increase the accessibility. It is a failure. I am the chairman of the committee that has the funding obligation in it. It is absolutely, positively zeroed out. But to show you the growth in it, it has gone from $3 billion last year to $18 billion this year. We have got to kill it before it grows like any monster. Once it starts getting out of the cage, you can't get it back in. And while we're at it, we need to clip the wings of Dodd-Frank and the EPA. I am proud that as a former businessman in the property and casualty insurance business, that I have a 100% lifetime approval rating from the National Federation of Independent Businesses. The second part of creating jobs in our society is to get the budget under control. For every dollar we spend, 42 cents is borrowed. I'm proud that when I chaired the Agriculture Appropriations Committee, although I come from farm country, I'm proud that I cut the budget $3.6 billion, not a decrease in the increase, but a real cut, and it was signed into law by President Obama. You can get the job done if you and I as conservatives stick with it. It is possible. I'm also proud that I have, in my own office, returned over $1 million in unused rent, salaries, and expenses because I spend your money as if it was my own money. And let me say this, when it comes to the bureaucracy, we in Savannah have something very much in common with Floyd County. I understand you've been trying to build a road for 30 years. We've been trying to dredge a port for 13 years. $42 million in 13 years of studies, and we just now got the federal approval. The Port of Savannah expansion, for every dollar we spend, is a $5.50 return, and most of the 350,000 jobs are in this area and in North Georgia. We have got to get that done. Let me say this finally, and I know my time has run out. One other thing you got to do for businesses to spur the economy is to simplify and replace the tax code. I'm proud I am a fair tax sponsor, but I will support whatever scraps the current tax code. You and I, as conservatives, need to do these things. I'm Jack Kingston. I look forward to working with you in the months ahead. I want to say this also. I'm very proud to sit on the platform with these 7 very brave people. Whoever our nominee is, I'm going to get behind them. I know you will. And let's get the job done. Thank you very much.
Okay, number 6 is going to be Paul Brown.
Friends, our government is out of control. It's become too big, too burdensome. It's spending too much, it's taxing too much, it's regulating too much, it's borrowing too much, it's sticking its ugly nose in your business and our business too much, and it must stop. And in fact, both parties are guilty. When I was sworn into the U.S. Marine Corps, when I was sworn into Congress, I swore to uphold the Constitution against enemies, both foreign and domestic. Out of control spending and out of control government have become our nation's enemy. I will not rest until we defeat those enemies. In fact, Admiral Mike Mullen, when he was chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, said that the greatest security threat we face as a nation is our national debt. And I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. And that national debt has been created by a government that is out of control. Both parties are guilty of doing that. Since I was elected to the U.S. Congress and serving the 10th Congressional District, I promised them and I promise you that I will continue to vote the way I have been for the last 6 years. There are 4 questions I ask about all legislation. All 4 questions have to be yes. The first, is it constitutional? Is it constitutional according to the original intent of our founding fathers, of limited government and enumerated powers? Second, is it right? Does it fit the Judeo-Christian biblical principles that our nation was founded upon? Third, do we need it? Fourth, can we afford it? And I'll pledge to you, when you elect me your U.S. Senator, that's exactly how I'll vote as your U.S. Senator. And since I've been voting that way, the Club for Growth recently rated me, of the entire U.S. House of Representatives, as the #1 defender of economic freedom. Heritage Action recently rated the U.S. House of Representatives. There are 29 of us that were rated as conservative sentinels. I'm the only candidate in this race in those 29. I'm in the high end of that. Now let me tell you what I vote for. Under the Constitution, a strong national defense should be our major function. And in fact, we're only given 18 things in Article 1, Section 8, that we in Congress have the authority to vote for. If it's not in those 18 things, I will vote no. But one thing I can vote for, the major function of the federal government under the Constitution is a strong national defense. Strong national defense has been a bedrock policy for the Republican Party, and it must not change. But we've had 4 presidents who have degraded our defense capability. And I know, I'm a Marine. 3 years ago, I got back into the U.S. Navy Reserve because I am a Marine. And last year, I was deployed to Afghanistan in uniform, taking care of sick Marines and soldiers. We must have a strong national defense. We're not putting the money into national defense that we should. In fact, just recently, we saw that one of the 3 units that is in charge of our missile defense that delivers the nuclear weapons failed in its readiness and its safety. And it was the second out of the 3. This president ought to be ashamed of himself to allow that to happen. I have spent more time trying to cut the spending of this federal government, and I have introduced more targeted spending cuts, more pieces of legislation to cut spending than any other member of Congress. Now let me give you a couple of examples of things I propose that we cut. Right now today, the U.S. Department of Education is spending almost $70 billion of your hard-earned money. The average salary of those fat cat bureaucrats that have never taught a child to read is over $101,000 a year. I say, let's close down the Department of Education totally. Let's leave those dollars here in Georgia and have a world-class education system and pay our teachers more. And while we're at it, let's close down the EPA also. And as your U.S. Senator, I'll continue to cut the size and scope of government and put the money where it should be. I want to take the money out of the hands of politicians in Washington and put it back in your pocket. And that's exactly what I'll do. I'm the father of 3, the grandfather of 2, and the husband of my wife, Nikki Brown, who's for the last 28 years, she's somewhere around here. I'm fighting for, there she is back there. I'm fighting for their freedom. I'm fighting for your children and your grandchildren's freedom. If we don't stop this out-of-control government, our kids are going to live at a lower standard. With your vote, with your help, with your support, we can put this country back on the right track. And we will continue to have a strong America. Let's fight for freedom and liberty. Vote Paul Brown for the U.S. Senate. Thank you.
And you know I'm the last. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. It is a great honor to be here today. Introduce myself to who I am. My name is Eugene Yu. I've been saying that all along. Vote for you, for you. Let me ask you one simple question. Do you want a United States Senator who is serving, representing the state of Georgia, one of 100? Or do you want a United States Senator who is one of a kind? Well, I will be one of a kind. I look a little different. I may a little talk a little different. I may have a little accent, but I am American like you. I am proud to be an American. I will stand up for you, and I will fight for you, and I will deliver your voice in Washington. I've never been to politics in my life. As a young boy, as a teenager, came to America with a parent. Grew up in Augusta, Georgia. Enjoyed American education. Grown up South Augusta, become fireman. And serve and honor to serve the greatest military in the world, the U.S. Army. Later, I become the deputy sheriff in the Richmond County. Then later, I become the businessman around the world. I've been traveling all over the world. As an immigrant American, I lived it. And people ask me, why the hell you all of a sudden you're running for the politics? Well, guess what? As I say, I lived it. And I see the American dream, it just slipped away. We need to restore the promise of America. I want to protect my children or their children have the same American dream that I have. And sometimes I will not criticizing our congressman or my opponent, but there is sometimes they forgot the common sense. When they get elected, they forgot about the way of we ordinary people, everyday way of living life. They're living up in 30,000 feet above. I will fight for you. I may not know all those fancy words of the politics. I've been here always hear the balanced budget. Balanced budget. Of course, we got to have a strong military, secure border, which most of what I believe, my opponent already said them all, so I don't have to go through that again and again. But let's talk about the balanced budget. Don't we all know the balanced budget? Our wallet? Why can't we run the government just like you run your own home or your business? I will believe that if we bring the common sense into the government, I think our society will be much better, and we will continue this land of opportunity, that the country that I most love. And I will not let continue with spending money to oversee. Those days are over. We need to tell the world, the leader, that those days are over. They have to do something to the America. We are the word. We are the word. When America is not strong, the whole world is not going to be strong. So it's now time for them to support America. So when America is strong, the whole world is going to be strong. However, like I say, my name is Eugene Yu. Vote for you, vote for you, for you. And God bless each and every one of you. And God bless Georgia. And God bless America. Thank you.